Welcome back to Real Talk, the podcast where we chase down the weird, the wild, and the wonderful corners of film, and maybe get a little off track while we're at it. Today's episode, it's a vibe shift. We watched a few trailers this week. Some surprised us, some confused us, and at least one made us sit up and say, wait, what is this? I won't spoil anything right now, but let's just say our chat was lively. Also, I've been noodling on a new story idea. You ever get one of those late night sparks that just won't leave you alone? This one kind of came out of nowhere after watching the 1980 gritty horror film Maniac, and it's just been sticking with me ever since. It's a strange little dark tale. More on that later. And of course, towards the end, there's the great Batman debate of the week. Dave had thoughts, strong ones. Let's just say I've been assigned some viewing homework, and there may or may not be a mob boss in a purple suit involved. Or a city with a corruption problem. Something like that. We've got all that and more coming up, plus some solid banter, a few rabbit holes, and the kind of movie talk that feels like hanging out with friends on the couch way too late at night. Well, let's hit it. Hey, need a boost without the crash? Head over to dubby.gg, that's dubby.gg, for all your energy drink needs. No sugar, no fillers, just clean focus and serious flavor. And here's the kicker. Use the code REALREAL, REALREEL, at checkout and score 10% off your order. That's REALREAL, one word, for 10% off at dubby.gg. Fuel up, stay sharp, keep it real. Looking for chills that crawl up your spine and reviews that cut deeper than a butcher's blade? Welcome to Real Talk Horror Edition, where classic slashers, indie creepers, and cult nightmares are dissected with a bloody passion. Whether you're into slow burns or splatterfests, we've got the guts, the gore, and the geek out. So dim the lights, press play, and let your darkest curiosities run wild. Real Talk Horror Edition, where horror lives and breathes. Real horror, real talk. Available anywhere you get your podcasts. Welcome back to Real Talk. So let's start with our normal. What have you been watching, Dave?
I think the last thing that was of note. You know what I watched last night? Which it's unusual to talk about because I've talked about it so much in my life, is The Princess Bride. And it just happened to be on. I happened to watch it. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid, to the point where everybody has that movie they watch so many times as a kid, they have every line memorized and they retain that for 30 years. That's that movie, enough to annoy my wife consistently because I won't shut up and I keep saying the lines and I get them a little bit wrong, and I die a little inside if I have the line wrong. I don't say that, I'm just like, oh, that's what it is. But really inside, I'm just tearing myself up like, you dumb son of a bitch. But yeah. Great movie. It makes me think how happy I was that came out at that right time in my childhood. You know, I was 10 years old. I think it was 1987. So yeah, like, it was a pivotal moment. I think it gave me a real introduction to just a stupid idea as simple as love and what actual love is as a kid, that and it's in a funny way, and got everybody loving it. Peter Falk and Fred Savage, and I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you love the movie too, I know.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I still use the line, and I just for no reason at all, I'll just say, anybody want a peanut? I don't know why, but that's funny to me.
That's the line that sticks out to you? Yeah. It's extremely quotable. I'm a bad judge because, as I just said, I know every line. So I have all the obscure ones also picked up. But when we worked in video, we worked in video a long time ago, you would have to play the trailer, the commercial, whatever it is, the tapes they wanted you to play, the hour-long, whatever it is, nonsense of trailers and advertisements for the Hollywood video or Blockbuster, all the same. But you would have a little leeway to play some movies on occasion, as long as they were extremely family friendly, and that would be my go-to. And every time I put that on, I would sell at least one copy, like a brand new copy of that on VHS at first, and then DVD, for Christ's sake, laser disc and all of it. But I don't know.
That actually, good movie. That's funny stories. working at Blockbuster, and the one that Dave and I, the one we met at, was open on Friday and Saturday night till 1 a.m. So they're open a little bit later.
Crazy.
Our store would allow us after midnight, we could pretty much play whatever we wanted on those TVs. So me being a big horror nerd, I turned on Evil Dead 2. So I throw Evil Dead 2 is playing, and I'm just kind of going around. I'm facing the DVDs, and there was a rumor going around that it was true, but Bruce Campbell had recently moved to the area. Who walks in the store while I'm watching his hand attack him?
That
Bruce
is
Campbell
crazy.
comes in to rent a video game while I'm watching him on TV. That was the most, no, that was pretty awkward. I didn't say anything. I just kind of pretended.
Did he
like
notice?
nothing was going on.
Did he pretend like he didn't notice that he's on the TVs throughout the store?
We both put on Oscar-worthy performances of two guys who had no idea what was going on, and I just scanned it, charged him, because what was it, $4.99 to rent a video game at the time?
Oh yeah,
I charged him
$300
$4.99.
for every day it was late.
Yeah, exactly. But no sales tax in Oregon, so it was just $4.99, $5. Here's your penny, thank you, sir. And then I just kind of stood there, and I looked at the other people that were working. I'm like, that sucked. I never watched Evil Dead again at work. It was the weirdest.
I would think of all things, that would be one. It's only in those situations where you put that movie on, you realize, oh, that scene's not okay for families. It's when you start to judge things differently, when you're the one responsible for putting that content out in front of the faces of young, impressionable children. I had that happen a few times, but Princess Bride, Evil Dead, very much the same movie.
Same thing. Well, they're both slapstick heavy.
That's very true. That's very, very true. And filmmakers have made their way in the 1980s or late 70s, early 80s. So, you've got both of those things going.
Yeah.
What happened to Rob Reiner, by the way? Again, he was putting these fantastic, impactful movies out in the 80s. It's like we caught the Rob Reiner that was less politically motivated and more into entertaining and changing worlds through film. And then he went back to the political Rob Reiner, which, God love him, he's Rob Reiner, but...
And he can do that, and obviously that's his prerogative, but when I was trying to think about that, what is he doing now? I honestly don't remember anything...
Suing cities over smoking, I think.
I don't remember anything since his small role in Dickie Roberts.
Yeah, he's done stuff since then. Yeah,
and I know he has. But I'm looking and it's all things that Bucket List, Rumor Has It, The Magic of Belle Isle. None of these big anything. Though he does have coming up later this year, Spinal Tap 2: The End Continues.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I did hear about that.
Maybe we'll get a return. Maybe we'll get a return.
Maybe, or he'll have grown past it too much and life has interfered with his ability to understand satire in the same way that the rest of the world.
I'm hoping that Christopher Guest still has that in him to do that.
Probably. I mean, look at Jamie Lee. They both seem to, you see her on an award show, she's very much like Frances McDormand, where it's whatever, take it, whatever. This is stupid. You guys are all dumb for liking this stuff, but thanks for saying thanks to me. I guess I did a good job, and we all did. Whatever. This industry's stupid and a waste of time. Save the world, save the whales. Basically, which God love them. I love them to death. My wife is in love with Frances McDormand, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
So,
And Jamie Lee Curtis is the least nepo-y of the nepo babies.
100%. There's a whole. That's a whole thing. Amy and my wife and I have been talking about, which is that there should be an entire series dedicated to nepotism in Hollywood because it's brilliant. I would do an episode alone on the Newmans. Yes, I'm talking about Randy Newman, right? He's not the first Newman. He's not even the most prolific musical Newman in films. So, but anyways,
maybe he's the most awarded. Maybe I think he's won more awards, but
he's more current, and he's just the one who's still out there doing it. But
and my favorite will always be Alfred.
Yeah, of course. He did
Newman,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. No. What's the first Newman? The first Newman who did all the stuff in the 1930s, 40s, the silent era.
Yeah.
The late silent era, early sound, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Yeah, but Well, because now it's currently Randy and his brother, right? They both are still
Right.
huge.
Right, but they're pulling off of their uncles, who started the whole thing. But anyways, I'll dig that one up. But what have you been watching?
So I had been not feeling well this week, a little under the weather, had a little bit of a cold. So I did break out a lot of my comfort kind of movies. I watched Jim Garner, the
pornography, sheriffs. Right? Lots of
right,
sorry,
big time. Support your local
pornography and golf, right?
Only when they're mixed together. It's pornography on a golf course. No.
There's a lot of sticks in that game. Sticks and balls.
Sticks and balls. Down Periscope, support your local gunfighter, support your local sheriff, because they're mindless and I'll fall asleep when I'm not feeling well. I did, I guess, was a guest spot on another podcast called The Horror Lab, where we talked all things The Shining. So I watched The Shining again. And I watched Vivian Kubrick.
To you? The Shining is comfort? Like, that puts you at ease? Helps you fall asleep?
It's my zen.
Yeah.
Though I did watch a documentary. Vivian Kubrick, who is Stanley Kubrick's youngest daughter. She was 20 when they were about 20 when they made The Shining, and she did this whole documentary that ended up being released by the BBC. So I watched that.
How was it?
And then it's really good because it shows a lot of there's a lot of drama about, did Stanley Kubrick really ruin Shelley Duvall's life and all that stuff that's come out much later. And she's right there in the middle of it. Like, you can tell there are things that irritate her, but then there are other shots where she's laughing and everything's great. So I don't know if it just kind of gives more context to that story. And then to hear Jack talking about his process as an actor in 1980 or 1979 when they were filming it, it's really crazy because Jack, he mentioned something and it totally makes sense when you think about his career. He says that he doesn't like to come into a role and know the character. He would rather come into a character with what he thinks of it and the director tell him he's wrong or give him something he never thought of, because he wants to be out of control. He wants to be falling and feel like he's trying to catch himself. And I'm like, that is Jack Nicholson to a T, just a little out of control, a little bit crazy. So there's some really neat stuff like that in there.
And he develops his characters throughout the each of his movies. They become more and more known to the audience, and that's probably, I guess, to him at that point too. That's nuts. Dude.
Yeah, and I guess also what I found out because of watching that, Vivian Kubrick went on to do, she did some musical scoring. She did the score for, I want to say she did do the score. I could be wrong, but that she did it for Full Metal Jacket, and that she wrote a score for Eyes Wide Shut that didn't end up getting used. He ended up using something else, but some crazy stuff. And then she apparently went crazy and kicked her mom and sisters out of her life and joined Scientology.
Oh, there's that. We all do that. We all go through the Scientology phase.
Got to do that phase. And the last thing, the most recent thing I watched is because of a conversation you and I had. I watched the 3 Director episode of Family Guy.
Oh God, how fantastic is that?
It was,
as a even rudimentary film geek, they nailed it. They got it right.
Like, they highlighted everything I hate about Michael Bay.
Yep.
He highlighted the reason why I love the quirky fun of Wes Anderson.
Yep.
And then just everything was extra bloody and goofy, and El Royale with cheesy about Quentin. Like, it was spot on caricature.
There's a brilliant line where they say something in the Quentin Tarantino segment about what TV show you're talking about. He goes, I don't know, some show from the 70s. You know, the last time Quentin Tarantino watched television, which is amazing. It's an amazing line because that fits the bill 100%. But yeah, they're great. Like, the family, that's the best thing they're doing are parodies.
And then I think there's a question towards the end. Well, which one did you like? I didn't really watch the first one. I didn't really watch the Tarantino.
But Michael Bay, they nailed that. Flags, eagles, explosion, dudes with muscles sweating and doing the fist pump and all that stuff. Dude, they nailed that stuff. That is 100% the reason I don't like Michael Bay.
Almost exclusively right there. If it doesn't
Let's
have a
see, what else
semi
do I
truck,
watch?
it blows up. But that's
You know,
pretty much
I
all
also I watched Norma Ray. That
Oh,
was I guess it was about a week and a half ago. It was right for the last episode. I just didn't want to really talk about it, but um, you've seen Norma Ray recently?
I do not believe I have ever seen anything but the trailer. Never actually
Oh,
watched it.
it's a really solid movie. She's you know, Sally Field is
I love Sally Field. Yeah.
But the funny thing is it's this horrible manufacturing industry where they're making textiles and shirts and fabrics or whatever the hell they're making there, and you think
Mhm.
this is the manufacturing jobs that we want back here? Like, it's a terrible, terrible job. But you know, anyways, great movie, really good movie. It's very 1970s dated, kind of politically
Mhm.
motivated, before the 80s when greed is good and all that kind of stuff. But
was Norma Ray was that the movie the when she accepted the award? You like me, you really like me.
correct, I do believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I can get. I did not see it. The one that I don't know why, but in my head, Norma Ray and the Meryl Streep. For some reason, Norma Ray and Silkwood. And I know they're not the same thing at all, but just the titles get stuck in my. I get them mixed up for some reason.
Who made Silkwood?
Silkwood. It's Meryl Streep. Also, kind of that same 70s, 80s world. It's 1983. She works at a plutonium processing plant and is getting like
Right.
radiation poisoning.
Who directed it though?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, the great Mike Nichols.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I knew it had some reason to watch it. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that one I've seen, but in my head, Silkwood means silk manufacturing. Norma Ray.
Right.
Norma Ray died of radiation. No,
That's why they cast her. That's all they were like, you know, she's into fabric. Let's get this lady. She knows fabrics. We have this movie all about silk, I think, and so we might as well get her over here.
And speaking of Silkwood, remember when Cher was a real actress, like award-worthy, actress?
No,
you don't remember?
No,
Moonstruck.
Yeah,
you know, where did that go? She had that 8-year stretch in the 80s.
Well, she did The Mask. I don't know what you consider that to be. But... Yeah, that's a. It's like they were trying to do a lighthearted romantic comedy version of The Elephant Man. I don't know how well that played. Because, I mean, The Elephant Man is a lot of things, but it's not romantic. It is funny. It's insanely funny. But I don't know if I'd say it's a romantic funny. You know what I mean? It's like ha-ha funny, not ha funny. You know what I mean? Hey, by the way, I was doing a little Garrett Graham digging. And it led me down this rabbit hole of there's a movie called a TV show called Sidekicks. Did you remember the movie in the 90s, Sidekicks? It's Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Chuck Norris and Jonathan Brandis.
Like he's dead now. Careful.
I know.
But anyway, that movie. Which, by the way, digging into that, I don't even remember the movie. I'm sure I saw it because you know I was 16 and it would have been on at some house where some little kids or something were watching TV. Sure. But I guess the only reason Chuck Norris did it is his brother made it. It's his brother's movie. I didn't know he had a brother. So anyways, there's that. Good. There's a TV show called Sidekicks that Garrett Graham was a part of that is basically like a Karate Kid knockoff from the 1980s, from like 1986. You with me so far? Yeah, and it made me think of, and I gotta ask you, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins from 1985. Now, the reason I ask you this is because I was looking at the poster for it, and I remember, oh my God, that's a white dude playing a gay white dude playing an Asian guy, like extremely, almost stereotypically, and I think, you know, why were we so okay doing that in our childhood? And I'm not saying we were okay, we didn't know any better, but still, like, Soul Man. Okay. But anyways, go ahead. Remo, give me your thoughts.
I didn't put it on my list because I didn't know how to talk about it. I also watched Remo Williams this week. No joke. And the first thing because I'm still trying to wrap my head around, I've seen it a handful of times in my life. It just comes, all of a sudden it pops up and you watch kind of thing. It's right up there with what's the Peter Weller one? Buckaroo Banzai. It's
Right. It's a little better than
but
that, but not by
no,
leaps and
not
bounds.
bad. No, but I get stuck every time. So you've got Fred Ward. He gets beat to basically the point of death, and to change his face, they just restructure his nose. It's just a little
that's
smaller
all it
nose.
takes.
That's it.
It's the Team America thing where they made the guy Muslim, just by gluing some hair on his face.
No, I like it. Remo Williams. It was so they wanted to do a series. I wish that it was done a little less canon films cheesy and more. Or let's see a reboot of that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I guess with a real Asian person. Now, the reason I asked this,
Sure,
is obviously Joel Grey. It seems pick and choosy where the blowback for inappropriate material goes, but Joel Grey, I don't know, is he given a pass, that, or is that movie just forgotten so nobody ever discusses it except for us currently? Like, are we the only people talking about Remo Williams? I guess that's probably more likely what it is.
It's got to be more that it's forgotten. Because everyone, when you talk about bad Asian, Breakfast at Tiffany's always still comes up.
Yeah.
But that's a memorable, great movie. Remo Williams, not so much. Now, if the character was doing blackface, I think we'd still hear about it, because you still hear about Soul Man.
True.
C. Thomas Howell in blackface.
You don't hear about Silver Streak though. That's Gene Wilder doing blackface with Richard Pryor in tow.
I think it's because Richard Pryor signed on.
So
he's like,
and because they're so close, even though Richard Pryor was just high the whole time anyways, he's just doing whatever he could to get his money. Just get out of here and party. The reason that all it brings up is it made me think of it because I was watching some trailers this week, and there's the new Karate Kid, right? The new Karate Kid. I don't know. There's one with the Will Smith in it, and then one with his kid in it, and then one with his kid's uncle in it. I don't know. Whatever it is. This assortment of people. They keep trying to reboot the series.
Yes.
I tried the TV show. Was it Netflix, right? And Netflix, I think.
It was originally YouTube Red, and then it went to Netflix. But yes,
to Netflix.
Yeah.
I tried it a couple episodes. I think it's great. I'm glad. I love Ralph Macchio. I'm glad to see all those people working.
Billy Zabka,
so that's all fantastic.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. All that stuff I'm fine with, but is it the rehashing of it into a new film? And to be honest, the trailer looks fine. I'm not going to rush out and see it, but I'm not going to avoid the movie. What are your thoughts?
Right. So, well, it's not for me. It's not for me. That I do like that you hate
Asian people, right? You're against all Asian people.
No. I hate people that are 65 and look younger than me, Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, that's true. No, well, that's that CG thing we always talk about, right? Like, the computer animated de-aging.
So the notes that I wrote myself is that it's not for me. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with the trailer. The cast looks fine. Right. Everything but just feels like more of the same, that we're stuck in this sequel reboot phase, and I want something bold and original. And as we talk about more of the trailers that we watched this week, the vast majority are retreads, reboots, or sequels.
Or just reimagining similar concepts.
Yes. There's not a lot of new out there, and that's hard for. I don't love that. I do like the way that this movie seems to be doing a little bit of that Creed thing, where it's reimagining the stories with new characters, but still linking in.
Oh. You're talking about the music. Oh my god, I didn't think it was that bad, Bill. Come on, buddy. I thought it was okay. Fuck. I'm not going to see it, but I'm not going to protest outside of the concerts like I did with Creed. God hates Creed. God hates Creed. Like that.
This was not meant as a Scott Stapp jab. But...
Got it. Okay. My mistake.
What did you? So, I watched maybe two episodes of Cobra Kai. It was fine. It's not for me. It's just.
I'm glad people. The problem is, it isn't just if something is good enough to watch, because there's actually a lot that is good enough to watch.
Yeah.
The problem is there better stuff to watch? Because we live in this time where, do I choose to watch something that I really think is fantastic, or do I stick with something that is mediocre or just holding my interest enough, or it's just something that other people like and I don't necessarily like? Same thing with films. And the problem with films is that new movies come out and I think, oh my God, I really should check that out. That looks pretty good. But then I think, oh my God, there's like 100,000 classic movies that I'm positive are very good. Should I be watching one of those instead? And that's usually in the way I lean, but
Right.
I don't know. I guess it makes me culturally irrelevant, I suppose, is what the kids would say. They say that, right?
No,
Is that what they say?
That is what they say. I think something like a Cobra Kai or a Karate Kid Legends it's good enough that if my wife wanted me to watch it with her, I would probably watch it. But I'm not going to choose to watch it on my.
Right, you're not going to go out and seek it. It's not a waste of your time as so much as it is a waste of your time, right? Like committed time and dedicated time and not dedicated time. I'm with you on all of that.
So with that though, let's look at the flip side of a reboot that I honestly think is going to be a great one. We don't know yet, but Naked Gun. How well done do you think that looks?
Well, I love the people behind it, right? Seth MacFarlane. I was a huge fan of Once Upon a Time in the West, or Once Upon a Time in the West.
A million ways in the West.
Yeah, well, I like Sergio Leone too, and I did watch that the other day. So that's like 100 times from that movie. I like Seth MacFarlane. I like his comedy style. I think he sings too much, but that's just my personal taste and lack of musical interest so much. But I kind of think it's going to be great. I think it's funny to see Liam Neeson, who also, like Leslie Nielsen did, play the straight man so consistently, to take on a lighthearted attitude with it. I think they need, at this point, they've piqued everybody's interest with the teaser, and now they really need to get out there with some trailer material, so that way they can show people like there's more than just this one joke that he's got cherry underwear, which is fantastic. Who doesn't want to see Liam Neeson with his legs spread with cherry underwear? You know what I mean? But still, I think
Neeson's cherries.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I hear they're fantastic, so
Yeah, again,
I'll take
Akiva Schaffer, the Lonely Island thing. He's good. I like that idea of it. I think he'll be able to do that. Hopefully it delivers on this little teaser's promise, but we'll have to see.
And I hope there's just enough OJ references to satisfy everybody's consistently wondering, like, what are they going to say about OJ? But without going over the top, because if they spend the whole thing.
I would love to see them work in some kind of a Hertz rental car joke. No,
I would love to see them work in. They go to a murder scene where somebody loses a glove, and it's just happening in the background, and they don't really focus on it, but they're just talking about the missing glove, and then they kind of move on. Like, that's what I would like. I'd like to see that, and then we could all chuckle inside and die a little bit about our criminal justice system a little bit.
Right. I want something small but meaningful.
Yeah, exactly.
So, did any of those other? So we did watch one.
I didn't see Megan 1. Megan 2, I think, is one of the trailers that you and I talked about, right? Yeah. I didn't see Megan 1. I think here's the thing: is I'm okay with the horror movie that has a little wink at the camera, that they know they're like, hey, we kind of know this is silly, wink, wink, like. But I'm not into it so much if they're using it as an asset, that they're being over the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like the first one was, but I didn't watch it, so what do I know?
Again, I didn't watch the first one either, but watching
we're terrible judges of all this. Maybe it's going to be fantastic. Child's Play also had the same thing. You saw Child's Play 1. Right. It's basically a reboot of Child's Play, isn't it? Just with robotics and AI.
But I think Megan 2.0 is a reboot of Terminator 2.
Oh.
Because now there's a new robot. They have to rebuild her to go after the superior version of the original. Like, it's just and the CGI
and James Cameron takes his submarine to the bottom of the ocean in this one too, right?
He does.
Wait, which movie is that? That's Titanic. Never mind. Forget it. Yeah, I guess I didn't think of that. I just figured it was Child's Play. At least the first one was, right?
The
Is that what
first
it
one is
It's
100% Child's Play. This one, the trailer just seems to lean so much more action oriented and comedy, and I don't know that's a lot of genre to balance for a cheesy horror.
That's what I mean, like the winking at the camera. I think if they do it just right, just enough, I think it can be funny and appropriate and enhance. But if they do it too much, then they're kind of relying on it as if it's the cool kitschy thing they're doing. Do you know? And that's what it seemed like. Like, I don't know. The Britney Spears song in the trailer's not doing any favors, in my personal opinion.
No,
but I didn't see the first one. So, you know,
so
what do I know?
Then there was the Hunger Games. This one's real easy to talk about because it didn't show us any.
I'm not that hungry. Wait, what'd you say? I saw the first one in the theater.
On the Reaping. I saw the first four, I guess. The original.
Well, you have teenage girls. You have young girls.
But
I just go there for the young girls. Go ahead. Sorry.
Whoa. Whoa. Now this one, it just didn't show us anything, so I don't think there's really much to talk about with that. But sticking with
teasers are always hard to judge. Teasers are for the fans to say, "Oh my God, that's coming out," right?
Yes.
Like, and then to track it and wait for the trailer to come out.
Yeah. So then there's Five Nights at Freddy's, the sequel. I never played the video game, but I watched the first movie.
Same.
The first movie was okay. I didn't hate it.
Fine.
I didn't love it. I didn't
like the ending. I like the beginning of that movie a lot more than I like the second half. The second half, I was starting to disconnect when they talk about little kids' spirits and things like that, and ghosts and whatever else. Lose me.
The only reason I know this is because as a teacher, I have of middle grade students, junior high, middle school students.
You have kids' spirits in your classroom? Jesus.
They tell me the lore. Behind the story. So I understood where that was coming from in a larger picture. So I'm hoping for more of that, more of the story here. And it does look much creepier. Okay. This trailer looks creepier this time around. So
I feel like they connected the first one. They started and connected that first one around to get you. Although at the very beginning, you're like Matthew Lillard. You see him the very first time. You're like, oh, he's the bad guy, right? Like he just the very introduction. He's like in the second scene of the movie. You're like, oh wait, no, he's the bad person, right? Yeah. Like there's no allusions to anything in that.
But I did like him as the
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So, what about this creepy thriller Bring Her Back with Sally Hawkins?
I saw a teaser for it I don't know, weeks or a month or so ago, and I didn't really know what it was. The teaser, of course, just shows like one quick scene. It's great. Like that teaser was fine. It piques your interest, I guess. This has made it more confusing for me. I know a little bit less. It seems like they're just stringing together a bunch of really creepy sequences and just trying to tie them all together to make something that makes people feel uncomfortable. But I don't know. So worth it, maybe.
So Bring Her Back and Saint Catherine, very similar trailers in that they aren't telling you any story at all in the trailer,
which means they might not have much.
So it's either they're old school and the director is making the trailer as he goes, or they don't have a lot of story. And because those are both more independent pictures, I'm hoping it's the latter. Though the Saint Catherine looks like the lesser of the two movies. I think
isn't that one made by the Roman Catholic Church? That one's made by the Roman Catholic Church, though, right?
Right.
The Roman Catholic League, I think, is they're making Saint Catherine. No, they're not. Okay, my bad.
No.
I thought it was. They always have group seating available for those movies where they're church movies where group seating is available.
No,
thought that was that, but no, it's not. Okay. My bad.
No, the Catholic Legion of Decency will be protesting this one.
Okay, that's and Dogma. I got you. Okay, my bad.
No, but St. Catherine looks like, to me, it looks like it's another they're throwing all these different demonic, scary looking creatures at you, and how do you balance a story with that many crazy creatures?
We'll
see.
you're stringing together uncomfortable sequences and just trying to tie them all together. You don't even need lore. And what I mean, it makes me think, when we were just talking about the trailer and not really telling you anything, is like, let's take Halloween, which is my favorite horror whatever movie, because I think there's an element of suspense in it that's better than anything.
Yes.
But basically that movie, there wasn't any notion for why this guy's doing these things, why he's crazy. I mean, there's a little bit of hinting, like something about the house and the he killed his sister there, but nobody knows why he sprung a leak. They don't really focus too much on that, right? Like, that's not the focus. By the time they tried, and I think it was the fifth one, I think it was the fifth Halloween movie, if I remember correctly, where they start talking about like Celtic rituals, and somehow he's imbibed by the spirit of whatever it is. And like, that's when I kind of tapered off of it, because I'm okay with accepting the reality that this is just a scene and a situation. I don't need you to pretend to tell me why this thing that could never actually happen is actually happening, you know?
No, and I'm a firm believer that sometimes what you don't tell me and what you don't show me is the most powerful thing, because my imagination has to do the work, and I am screwed up in here. Like,
I'm gonna think way worse stuff than you're gonna come up with. It's gonna be horribly upsettingly graphic. Like, nobody's gonna want to hear the scenes in my head. They're way bloodier, trust me.
No, your movie wouldn't even get an NC-17 with what's happening in mine.
I can't even CGI my scenes in my head because they're too much. Like, we can't have that much blood splatter. It's impossible. The computer cannot produce that many droplets of blood like that.
No,
right?
It's a Pablo Picasso painting coupled with a Tarantino bloodbath. Going on.
It's a Pollock. It's a Pollock with a bunch of Tarantino stuff thrown on the top of it.
Exactly.
But anyways, I think those movies are going to come and go, like they typically do. I think they'll make sequels to them, and I'll be like, oh my god,
I missed that. Now, of the two, Bring Her Back is the one that looks more intriguing to me, more along the subtle side. We'll see. And let's talk about the last sequel before we get into 3 movies that are new-ish. So, The Accountant 2.
Did you see The Accountant 1?
Yeah. Extremely forgettable.
Yeah. It looked like it.
I like Anna Kendrick.
I like Ben Affleck,
I generally like Ben Affleck. I don't like Ben Affleck like Kevin Smith likes Ben Affleck, but I like Ben Affleck.
Yeah. He can't play anything. He's not Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. You cannot cast him as that.
So my thoughts are the first Accountant. I would probably have rated it positively if I was doing a real rating on it, but it was largely forgettable. I didn't even, when they said Accountant 2 was coming out, I'm like, what? Okay. And I had to remember that there was an Accountant 1.
With the first one.
And now it feels like we're going to do a buddy cop kind of sequel thing where
they have to add another one. Now the accountant's brother. The accountant's brother.
And I'm gonna teach you to smile, and we're gonna lean into the comedy. Oh, you need the sunscreen? Let me throw it over there. Like,
you ever watch a movie or a TV show or anything, and you start to think, like, you can start to see where the person who came up with the idea was in their life when they came up with this. Like, Severance, famously, Dan Erickson, whatever his name is, was working at a door factory and hated his job so much. That's where Severance came from. But you can start to see, like, Waiting, the movie Waiting, where the guy was a waiter, and he wrote this. And you could tell all these things. That's why people write themselves, their characters into these roles of working in movie theaters or wherever, or waiters, a lot of waiters, because it seems like that's a lot of people in the industry. But it seems like the accountant was some bored accountant sitting in his office, daydreaming about being basically an assassin superhero. Am I correct? And he's a little bit on the spectrum. Am I right that Ben Affleck is a little on the spectrum? Not, but the character is, I think.
The character absolutely is. In the first movie, like, to highlight how different he is, they actually show him building puzzles upside down, so just the gray side. So they absolutely
for fun. He's doing this for fun in the movie.
It's
their notion, by the way. Their notion is that because of because he's on the spectrum, or because he has these tendencies, or whatever you want to call it, the disability, the behaviors, that he's basically loves doing nothing more than doing puzzles for his own. Is that the notion? Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm not an educational
that is
specialist.
His downtime activity, but he loves doing them so much that he flips them upside down.
That's like, yeah, of course. That's, who wouldn't? I mean, it's kind of like
dictates.
I love drawing, and so I usually just turn the lights off and I draw in the dark because that's just simple joy to me. Yeah,
I just use
my
just
like deconstructing it, and then I have blank sheets. Yeah, like taking away people's drawings, like a Pollock painting.
Oh, it's like a Pollock painting.
I didn't see The Accountant 1, so I don't know. Again, Ben Affleck, I always am going to think of the Matt Damon thing, where isn't it do one for them, one for you, one for them, one for you? I don't know how many he's owed now, but I bet he's owed a couple. So I don't know. Hopefully we have like a new town coming out, or one of these, or Argo 2 or 3 or 4, like the Argo miniseries or something. It should be, instead of Star Wars, should be Argo, basically. I guess, they're both sci-fi, same movies, right?
I would love to see something like that for sure. How about this? Hurry Up Tomorrow, the one with the Abel Tesfaye or The Weeknd and Jenna Ortega, Barry Keoghan.
I'm not complete. I'd love The Weeknd. I mean, I'm too old to really love The Weeknd, but right. I respect him. He's like all these young artists, these young kids. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm glad they're out there doing their thing and everybody's happy. And I love Jenna Ortega. I think she's great. I mean, let me ask you this question: Jenna Ortega just kind of like came on the scene and now she's everywhere, right? Like, she's Jack Blacking this whole thing, which hopefully she does better than Jack Black did. Did you see the Wednesday, right? Wednesday, that what it was called? The Tim Burton, right?
Yeah.
So I watched it because it was Tim Burton. I mean, I'm a fan. I like the Addams Family, all those kind of things.
Sure.
The first couple inspiring. I thought it was a weird choice. They have Luis Guzman as the dad and all those things, whatever. Whatever. All that stuff's fine. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of became a show that I realized wasn't for me anymore. It was a lot about teenage love. Like, the last 6 episodes of this 8 episodes was literally about teen hormones and teen love and who's going to take who to the dance. And I was like, oh my God, this just became Beverly Hills 90210. It's not where it started. Anyways, I don't know, a sidetrack on that, again, tangents. But I like her. And so yes. I want her to do well. I want, she's in a lot of stuff, which I don't want oversaturation of the market. Now, all of that being said, I don't know what the hell this trailer was. I don't know what it was about. Is she holding him hostage? Is she trying to help him? Is he a drug addict? He's playing himself? What's going on?
He's playing himself. I do know he's playing himself.
I figured that. I got that. I got that.
No freaking clue what's going on. No idea.
At one point, she's tying him up.
Like, even on IMDb, the little 1-sentence synopsis, it basically mentions that he's an insomniac, and it's like he's going crazy.
It's just a bunch of question marks in the thing. It's like, we don't know either. IMDb is like, I don't know.
Whatever.
Speculative.
It's stupid. Visually, it looks really stylish. It looks very rock video.
Well, it's going to have his music. It's going to be like an hour and a half music video, I'm guessing.
Yeah, with
a little story woven in there. Yeah. That's fine. So anyway, to answer your question, no, I won't see it in the theater, but I'll buy it on VHS when it comes out, on VHS or beta.
I will be the first one in line on the Tuesday release of the previously viewed DVD.
There you go. As soon as Hollywood Video gets it, I'm going to go to get it.
Go pick it up. All right. So how about the Jack Quaid movie, Neighborhood Watch? Again, here we are with it. You didn't watch The Boys, right? Did you? Didn't watch The Boys. No, okay, but I watched the companion. I didn't think so. I watched The Companion with Jack Quaid, that movie.
I don't know that movie. But anyway, that being said, The Boys is actually it's good. It's
great thing.
Again, there's too many good shows out there. I don't blame anybody for not seeing it and stuff, but it is good. It's an interesting take on it, all those kind of things. But that's the first place I remember seeing him. and he's the product of some very famous parents, and hopefully he goes the dad Dennis Quaid way, not the Randy Quaid way. Randy Quaid, but
They're
if
both
he
they're both a little odd. Even
yeah,
even
but Randy
Dennis is going
Quaid's
down. He's a different animal. He's a different.
yeah. I think he's done
He's
one
full
too
cousin
many.
Eddie.
There you go. Thank you. Actually, I
He
think
went full
I'd rather
cousin
hang
Eddie.
out with cousin Eddie, but what do I know? I don't know
I
him.
won't-
Maybe he just hates the industry that much. Maybe he hates a lot of people that much. That's fine. But anyways, he pops into this, and this is the first time I remember seeing him, and he actually was okay. He got better with there, and now there are 3 projects, I think 3 movies out that he's in currently. Novocaine, which just came out. There's that one, and then there's another one I just ran across. I can't remember the name of it right now, but there's another one that he's also in that he's again talking about Jenna Ortega or oversaturation by publicists who just push this one person out to everybody. I don't want that to happen to any of these young kids and stuff. But I don't know. I do think that movie looks okay, though. I'm interested. That one piqued my interest more than anything else I saw today.
See,
that movie.
And I saved the one that piqued my interest the most for last. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Neighborhood Watch. I'm not a huge Henry
James
Morgan,
James
McConaughey.
Morgan, Dennis.
Yeah, whatever.
What is his name? Harry Morgan from MASH.
Colonel Potter
Jr. Colonel Potter, MASH. Gotcha. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
That guy from that show. Not a huge, I don't know. We'll see. It's another one of those odd couple buddy movies, it looks like. But we'll see. Maybe it'll be good. But the last one, this one actually, I have more hope for than most of, and that's The Fountain of Youth.
Really?
Yeah, so there's the Guy Ritchie, who's hit or miss.
Yeah?
When I love Guy Ritchie, I love it. When I don't like it, it's bad.
Yeah.
I like John Krasinski. I like Natalie Portman.
I do.
I feel like Apple TV is at the top of the game when it comes to content right now, and they're the company behind this one.
You watch a lot of Silo, do you? You don't even know what that is, do you?
I don't.
You don't have no idea. Neither do I. I don't know. Okay.
Severance.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, I watch Severance. I watch Ted Lasso. I watch Mythic Quest. I get a little Apple TV in there.
I know. I'm just fucking with you, Ted.
It's a little. But, it's very it's very Indiana Jones heisty vibe, and I think that if it's Apple TV up here and it's better than average Guy Ritchie, it could be a lot of fun, and I'm going to hope for a lot of fun.
So Guy Ritchie, I think did Mobland, right? There's speaking of another television show, because that's apparently the thing. Basically, they're just taking the idea of making 8 hours of television programs the same way they would have made 2 movies or a movie. They're just stretching something out. But there's a show Guy Ritchie's putting out on Paramount, Mobland, which I haven't watched yet. I'm extremely interested in because it kind of fits a lot of the molds. Helen Mirren's fantastic.
Pierce Brosnan is another one of those hit or miss for me, but I love Tom Hardy.
Right.
It is on my list. I am not a guy who likes to wait. So like once I watch that first episode, I want to be able to watch the second episode. I want to watch as many as I want to watch when I want to watch it. So I wait until there's several episodes before I'll start. But that is high. Mobland is way up on my list of shows I want to watch.
It depends on what it is, because there are some things where if you're not abreast of what's going on culturally with something, you're not going to ever get it. And Severance felt like that, so I made sure I watched the last episode of Severance, whatever the season 2, whatever, pretty much right after it came out. I didn't want to be that far behind. Whereas like Game of Thrones, I never got on, and so it was impossible to catch up, because by the time people are talking about the Red Wedding, I'm like, what show is this? But I have a question for you about Apple, which is the studio, which is the Evan Goldberg, Seth Rogen. I've been watching trailers for it for a year and a half. It's out. There's like 3 or 4 episodes. Have you watched any of it?
No, that is actually the next show I will be watching.
Yeah,
the plan. My plan is, so again, I'm a teacher. I get a lot of time off. So once summer starts, that's when, I get all my doctor's appointments out of the way in the beginning of summer, but I do a lot of watching and writing for podcasts, for other things, like any story ideas that I have. So I have this whole list, and the studio is the first thing I plan to watch once
Yeah.
it starts.
Because it looks fantastic. It's hard to tell because everybody's taste is different. But
yes, it is absolutely, and it's getting all these raves. But so for me, and I think you as well, we are fans of all that behind the curtain insider
completely.
Hollywood. We eat that up. So I think if it's even moderately well done, I'm going to enjoy it. This seems way above that.
It's the inside baseball thing.
It's a lower bar. Yes.
We like the inside baseball for the industry.
Absolutely.
I would watch an entire movie that centers on what a Grips does as far as his day life. I think that could be fascinating.
We liked Mank, right?
Yeah.
The David Fincher movie. I really enjoyed it. We both, I think, liked Hail Caesar. Like, these love letters that these big time directors do. They have a much lower bar for me to enjoy it because I understand a lot of the dialogue and the underlining story and the behind the scenes stuff because we've probably read about it or watched a documentary or what have you.
Yeah, we're outsiders looking in, but we're still looking in, and not a lot of people aren't looking in at all.
And we were nerdy enough to know who Robert Osborne was growing up.
Yeah,
that's my history professor right there. That guy.
He taught me everything I have for most of my life. Much right?
Yeah, he is.
For anybody who doesn't know,
and he is. I didn't know how I felt when Robert Osborne passed away and TCM had to figure out their next step. I wasn't like sold on him yet because he seemed like this young, almost cocky kid coming in. But no, he is spot on, the perfect person to have picked up that mantle.
Self-effacing. I think I can respect anybody who's self-deprecating. Anybody who holds themselves at account and makes fun of themselves even a little bit gets a pass for a lot of stuff from me because I realize that even if they're hyping themselves up on one side, they're telling themselves they're terrible on the other, and that's just how I think people should be because nobody can think they're perfect. But yeah, I think that's a plus. And I think he's great.
And I think we're very much that way ourselves. When you were talking about how you like The Weeknd as much as you can, I'm like, yes, we both like The Weeknd as much as a mid-40s fat white guy can like The Weeknd.
Well, the question is, what's your favorite album by The Weeknd? Yeah, see,
the one that has Blinding Light on it.
You don't even know the name. I know. Good for you. You're one step ahead of me. I just know when I hear it, I like it. I'm like, that sounds pretty good, but that's about as far as I'll take it.
I have daughters that are teenagers and early 20s.
True. That's true.
I'm a little closer to the music than you are.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit closer.
Plus, you're his tour manager, so you should know a bunch. But
I do not work for The Weeknd. I work for Abel Tesfaye.
You work on the weekends. That's what it is. I'm sorry. My mistake. No, what a dad joke that is. Oh, there you go. Man, we are old men. We are old, middle-aged, overweight white men. How the fuck did that happen?
All right.
Yeah.
Something I want to bring up as we're getting long in this episode before we start wrapping it up. Dave, you and I have forever been wanting to make movies.
Are we breaking up? Are you breaking up with me? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I am. I have got this idea for a story. Right now, it's currently called Stage Fright in my head. But let me bring this to you and see what you think. So it's a here's my log line. Here's my elevator pitch. A forgotten child star, tormented by delusions and the ghosts of Hollywood abuse, begins killing those who wronged him, filming each murder scene as a grotesque masterpiece he calls his final performance. So my short synopsis, and it sounds
for the record, by the way, I'm sorry, it sounds frighteningly plausible. Right off the bat, it kind of scares you a little bit because you don't want a manifesto out there, right? You don't want somebody doing a whole Hunter Caulfield thing like the Catcher in the Rye, like, oh my God, somebody speaks to me. Finally, this guy gets it. It's what's his name? The kid from Jerry Maguire out there, but
yeah. No, this is my way of putting my copyright stamp on it. So if anybody else makes it, I can say, "Nah,
it was mine." And deal with everything. Yeah, we should just do that with the movie.
My synopsis is: once the star of a beloved family sitcom, Mason Hale now lives in isolation, and this takes us back. He's haunted by VHS tapes of his former fame and the memories of abuse at the hands of agents, producers, and his fame-hungry mother. After a humiliating audition triggers a psychotic break, Mason begins hearing from the director, which is a hallucinatory voice that encourages him to make a film no one will ever forget. So he begins committing these murders in stylized scenes. He has a producer strung up like a marionette, a co-star drowned in applause. His delusions grow stronger as he envisions a full feature-length slasher confessional that exposes the truth behind his downfall. And then there's another character, Natalie Quinn, who's also a former child actor. She's become a documentarian, and she wants to interview Mason for her expose on the industry's dark underbelly. And she suspects he's hiding something. She starts uncovering the clues, so she's kind of the final girl here. And with the final act looming, Natalie is the one who eventually has to stop Mason before he delivers the bloody climax that will make him immortal. So that's kind of the story I got kind of playing with right now.
It's a Pixar movie, right? That's what you're thinking. You're like a Pixar
this is for
family movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
for sure.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
If Sid got his own movie,
are you thinking 7? Like, is this going in that very
it's definitely
visceral, gruesome murder scenes post murder, that kind of a thing? Because that's what I picture when strung up like a marionette. Unless you're gonna go silly.
No, I definitely not silly. So the movie that I thought of that I was watching when this idea started hatching was the 1980 horror film Maniac. It's just grimy, dirty, filthy little movie. It was remade a few years back with Elijah Wood in the main character. It's just this really gritty, grotesque-ish kind of thing. But it's very much in that Black Swan, in that it's the breaking of reality mixed with a 7 or something Chuck Palahniuk would have done, something like that. So just real dark, maybe a little bit of that dark humor, but just something very dark.
And
Salvation
Tale. Yeah,
no
Salvation Tale. Okay, this is a catch the killer. So your focal point is going to be your main character is going to be the murderer, or is going to be the person hunting the murderer. It should be hunting the murderer, because you need the audience to be able to have some. You can't have the audience rooting for the guy slashing people up just because they were mean to him.
It's my movie. I can do whatever.
Didn't they try that in the 80s with that? What's that? Mark Price from Family Ties. What's the Skippy from next door?
Yeah,
Trick
Skippy.
or Treat. Didn't we talk about that?
The original Trick
Is
or
that
Treat.
the whole thing where he's supposed to be the main character, and he is hearing voices in his head from his heavy metal icons, and he's killing and hurting the people who bullied him at school? And you think, like, this is weird to see that we're rooting for this guy to do these horrible things to teenagers. Mark Price, yeah. To be fair, I just looked that up because I couldn't remember his name. But Trick or Treat, right? Is that what it's called? That's what this made me think of. In the sense that you'd be rooting for this guy to brutally murder, or you're 7ing it and you're on the other side of it.
Ozzy Osbourne plays like an evangelist on TV in that movie.
Yes, he does.
I remember that
with
movie.
All the rings and the tattoos all over his hands and stuff like that.
Ozzy. He's so Ozzy.
And a suit. He tries to look like a pastor with very little alteration. He just puts his hair in a ponytail, keeps his eyeliner on, I think, if I remember correctly, wears all of his rings, looks like still the devil, but...
some kind of knockoff Phil Donahue type of show on TV.
That's exactly. But in that, the main character is bullied and as the audience, we're supposed to be rooting for him to be pretty brutal to these kids who are bullying him at school. So I don't know.
No. So I really do think it more of the you mentioned Seven, and that's exactly kind of the tone that I'm thinking, but more balance between, instead of just focusing on the detectives trying to solve the murder, there has to be a balance between Natalie trying to expose him and him actually doing the things, because I don't think it makes sense to not have these to talk about a cinematic killing and not focus on those, because like in Seven, you come into the aftermath.
Yeah,
and I think you can't come into the aftermath if you're gonna call it cinematic.
This is if you were 20 years earlier, this would be found footage stuff, and you would have him having recorded himself doing the murders, and then all of this being done post in the documentary, where she's telling the outside story and then interjecting with the scenes, the tapes that she was given by him, as something akin to that. But I don't know. Did you see the Batman movie, by the way? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject on that.
Too long.
It's so very good. You didn't watch the Penguin then either. Yeah, no. I listened. I didn't want to like Robert Pattinson either, but I kind of like the kid now. But I'm telling you, it's a really good Batman. It's a really good, and I know it's been reinvented 1,000 times, but I do think it's very, very good. The reason I asked that, there's some pretty brutal scenes where you get to see the killer doing the crime at the moment that he's doing it, and they have clever ways of showing those crimes without making it his perspective. We're not even really aware who this person is until the end. And spoiler alert, but great movie. I promise you wouldn't be disappointed. And the Penguin's is insanely good.
The only reason I haven't seen it is the length. Sitting down for 3+ hours is always a daunting task for me because I fall asleep too easy.
Well, then cut some sleep out of your day and watch the movie. What are you talking about? And it's not just 2.5 hours to that. You've got like 8 hours of the Penguin to watch. You have to watch it all. Watch it all in one shot.
The Penguin seems less daunting, even though it's 8 hours, but it's
you can't watch. You gotta watch the movie first.
I know.
You gotta watch the movie first.
Absolutely. I'm just saying that it's less daunting for 8 episodes because it has a built-in break for me every hour or so.
Yeah, there's some scenes I would have cut out of the Batman movie, which I would talk to you about if you had ever watched it, but that's all right. What do you don't host a movie podcast or anything, do you? Like, you don't need to know these movies that the rest of the world are watching. I'm not watching I didn't watch Game of Thrones. You didn't watch this. What kind of experts are we? But the Batman movie, there are some things that could have been cut out, shortening it a little bit, but it's very, very good. Have you tried it? Have you started it?
No, I haven't even turned it.
It's on HBO Max or whatever it is, but let me just tell you this. Just watch the first 15 minutes of it and see, you will understand the difference in why this movie was being remade and rebooted and all those things. Like, to the point where I'm very excited to see what his next one is. Matt Reeves, I think, who made it, anyways, it's coming out, different voice. I've always said that the Batman movies started very cartoonish in the 1960s. They did. And then they kept getting a little bit more and more authentic and realistic as they went along, because we have the 89, and then like there's some realism in it, like the city's grimy, you know what I mean? Like there's grime in the city and trash, and homeless people unhoused people look unhoused a little bit more, but still like it's a little clean and cartoonish. The gun's really long and there's big balloons and all that kind of stuff that's silly. Then Nolan comes in, you're like, oh my god, this seems real. Like, this looks like the Joker guy literally just threw some makeup on his face like a nutcase, and they're telling us how all these bat tools work or whatever. This one is the next evolution in that, whereas you're like, oh, I see, he stitched that together himself, or that's really poorly made, like those kind of things. Dumb, maybe, but entertaining, very much so. And then the Colin Farrell thing, how he didn't win more awards, I have no idea. But anyways, the reason to bring the Batman up is they have some pretty brutal, I don't say brutal, but some elaborate murder killing scenes in the movie, and they use different ways to bring those to the audiences, for the audience to see without wasting the notion. So they're not just seeing the aftermath, they're seeing the aftermath and then finding it out. Either the killer is filming one of them and then has the videotape playing, and they go into the room, and then the guy's there like, oh my god, this is what we just saw on this tape or whatever, those kind of things. But it's a clever use of what I think your struggle would be, which is narrative point of view. And you just need to decide narrative, like in your story. If you were asking questions, if you were more than just copywriting your material right now, then
no. It's so actually the reason that I brought it up at the end is I remembered back to something that Kevin Smith did on an old podcast, where at the end they would actually workshop different ideas, and it's where Tusk came from. And different things like that. Yeah.
Which,
so I was like,
maybe that's not always successful. I mean, I don't know. Tusk is fun. The best thing in Tusk is that they are the Nazi party. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's hilarious. And I love Kevin Smith. So what are you gonna do?
I absolutely love Kevin. Love me some Kevin. Oh, all right. Well, we have hit that time. That's all I've seen this week. So I guess we're gonna start wrapping it up, I think. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Real Talk. We covered quite a bit today. Some wild trailers, a sneak peek at the new story idea I've been stewing on, and yes, Dave hit me with the ultimate Batman intervention. Apparently, I've been committing cinematic crimes by not...
A battervention. Call it a battervention, damn it.
That's a battervention by not watching the Batman and then the new Penguin series. I hear you. I'm on it. Probably. If you're digging the new format, the chaos, or just the sound of two nerds talking movies and making each other laugh, do us a favor, subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with all of your movie-loving friends. You can also
validate
find us on all the... Please validate me. My wife won't, so I need you to. You can follow validation. Follow us on the social media at Real Talk on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky for all the extras. We're also on YouTube and TikTok from time to time. But as always,
kick back, relax,
and go watch a movie.
Yeah.
Dim the streets in moonlight bright. We dissect the cinematic art. Real by real we pull apart. The real talk where voices play with velvet words and starlit sway. Reviewing tales both light and dark. Classic films that leave